Ciao, my name is Alessandro, but you can call me Yuchi. And in case you haven't noticed, we are halfway through 2026. I know, it's scary, but this is usually the time when I look back at all the games that I played in the past 6 months and choose my favorites. I've been doing this for the past 2 years on this channel, and while this is gonna be a different kind of video because I'm not gonna be ranking them but just giving you an overview of them, I feel like doing this every 6 months is the most effective way for me and my sweet spot for two main reasons. The first one being that if I were to talk about all the games that I liked in 12 months, just at the end of the year, I would be seriously overwhelmed. I'm a yapper, I talk a lot, I have lots of games that I like, and I wouldn't know where to start. And the second reason is that right now the memory of this game is still kind of fresh in my brain. If I had to talk about the games that I played in January, in December of the same year, I would be probably kind of struggling to remember what was that game about. And since I care a lot about giving you like the most detailed kind of overview of these games and the reasons why I love them, it is time to do it. So let's get into it. Before doing that, I want to remind you that if you like this kind of content and you like board games, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for lots of playthroughs, how to play, learn while playing, but also these kind of videos. And if you're into these kind of videos where we rank games, we talk about games, we yap and yap and yap more and more and more, there's a playlist with all these kind of videos that I made in the past in the description below or in the link showing right now at the top right corner of the screen. So just feel free to click that and check all the similar videos that I made about board games. So today we're gonna be talking about 7 board games, and allow me to say that there's one for each and every one of you, because there's heavy games, there's lighter games, there's medium games, there's deduction games, collaborative games, there is solo games, there is Euro games, there is everything you need is here. I'm gonna lay it all out for you. I just want to point out that these are games that are new to me, so that I first tried in 2026, but they're not necessarily like all new games. There's gonna be a mix of new and older games, so there's literally like anything you could think about. So it is time to jump into it with our very first game. For my very first pick, I chose a medium-heavy Euro game that is a little bit of an older title because it comes from 2022. 5,000 years ago, the Earth was destroyed. It is now our job to explore the frozen Earth and use the resources to repopulate it. The game I'm talking about is Revive. And the memory is very fresh in my brain because I played it again yesterday after playing it a few months back and really enjoying it. In this game, you are going to be controlling one tribe, and the tribes are all asymmetric. There's 5 different tribes. And with your tribe, you're going to be trying to repopulate the Earth, explore new terrains, and build buildings. This is a competitive game in which, of course, you're trying to score the most amount of victory points, and the turns are very simple. During your turn, you're either gonna take 2 actions or hibernate, which is some sort of rest kind of action. And there's obviously several different types of actions that you can take. One of them, for example, is building buildings, which is going to allow you to advance on the technology tracks and gain the benefits of the water spaces adjacent to the buildings you have just built. Another one is repopulating the Earth, so basically populating either in a city or in some sites. And when populating, you are going to unlock more abilities on your asymmetric board, and when populating sites, you actually unlock some end of game scoring criteria. And the third one will be to explore new tiles. Exploring new tiles will open new territories, which is kind of like the most exciting part for me of the game, but also it will give you victory points immediately, and it will allow you to get more cards. Yeah, there is a deck building aspect in this game, and I haven't even mentioned the cards. What do you use the cards for? Well, to do all of the actions that I've described, you need resources, clearly. It has resource management aspect. To build buildings, you need gears. To populate, you need books. And to explore, you need books and food. So basically, to do any action, you will need a combination of gears, books, and food. And how you get these resources is by playing cards. And you can play the cards by slotting them in the top or the bottom of your player board. Usually the top action give you playing resources, the bottom give you something more extra, something a little bit more spicy. And some of them can allow you to use your tribe asymmetric tribe ability, for example. Once a slot is taken, you cannot play a card on the slot anymore until it gets freed up, and there are several ways to free up these slots, but the main one is hibernating. Whenever you hibernate, you free up all the slots and put the cards back in the deck and take all your deck of cards and get it in your hand, basically. And timing in this game is crucial because you want to make sure to have the right resources at the right time to do the juiciest possible action and get where you need to go. Ultimately, in this game, you're trying to advance as much as possible on your technology boards, and that you usually do mostly by building buildings, but you also want to reach the far sides on the four corners of the board for some end of game scoring. And lastly, you want to gain the alien artifacts. These alien artifacts depend on player count, and they are the timer for the end of the game. Once the alien artifacts runs out, the end of the game is triggered, and the alien artifacts give you some multiplier for some end of game scoring that can be personal to you usually. We usually play with just one single card that counts for everybody, but usually you're supposed to give one of these endgame scoring cards to each of the players, and they have it basically secret for themselves. The game also comes with some sort of a 5 games campaign where you unlock more and more mechanics of the game the more you play it, but we just decided to play with all the things included already right from the start, because I feel like the game is more complete if you just ignore the whole campaign part and just play with everything, with all the rules included from the start. This is a game I would have never thought I would have liked, because the theme is like, sure, repopulating, it's just like, but it's so crunchy. Like, there can be so many combos triggering off from any kind of actions that you do. It's crazy. Truly, the comboing of actions is probably my favorite part of this game because it's so satisfactory. I would say I saw that kind of combos trigger off way more at 3 players rather than 4, because as I said, in this game you kind of want to look for those juicy spots in the main board and plop a building there, or populate wherever you need to, and it is much harder to do in a 4-player game just because there's more competition and the board is basically the same whether you're playing with 3 or 4 players, so that really doesn't change. And so this game has a little bit of everything, because it has a little bit of deck building, it has resource management, engine building. It is very satisfying when you do a crazy turn and just all sort of things start like working together and comboing together. So if you like very combo-y kind of games, I highly suggest Revive. There's also a sequel from probably 2024 or 2025 which is called Recall. I haven't played it. I don't know if they're basically the same or have a bunch of differences. If you know, let me know in the comments below. But this was one of the heavy Euro games that I like. In this first half of 2026, we're gonna have another one. We're gonna have another one at the end of the video, so stay tuned. And in case you wanna skip to the relative section of some games that you're actually interested in, there's gonna be the links to the chapters of this video or in the description below. But now let's go to the second game. The second game I wanna be talking about is a much lighter one, and it is a trick-taking game. I know, it's 2026 and we're still making fun trick-taking games, it's crazy. But this was probably my favorite game that I played when I went to UK Games Expo back last month, and it was Crits and Tricks by Inside Up. I had so much fun playing this at UKGE that I wanted it right away and play it again right away. And the peculiarity about this game, there's actually like multiple peculiarities, but one of them is that the cards have no numbers. And you might wonder, like, how do they have no numbers if it's a trick-taking game? Because you have dice. You're gonna choose the number of the card that you're playing. You're gonna have a set of 6 dice, D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and D20. And whenever you play a card, you are going to decide which die to assign to that. And whatever you have rolled at the beginning of the round for that die will be the value you assign to that card. Another very fun aspect of this game is that there are different suits, and each suit wins the trick in a very different way. So the usual way to win a trick in a trick-taking game is that the highest value of the leading suit would win the trick, and that's the suit for Barbarian. So if anybody opens the trick with a Barbarian, then that's the way to win the trick. But if anybody leads the suit with a Rogue, which is a different suit, then at that point the person with the lowest die value wins the trick. If you're opening with the Wizard, then the player who has the die that is closest to 5 wins the trick. So there is all kinds of criteria, and the game comes comes with 6 different suits, but you're actually gonna be playing with only 4 suits every game. You play 3 rounds in which every round is of 6 tricks, but you actually have 8 cards in your hand. So what are you gonna do with your 2 extra cards, you might wonder? Well, the game is called Crits and Tricks, so what is the crits about? Each of the suits also has a special power. So whenever you're playing a die for whichever trick you want, you could choose to spend one of the cards from your hand to activate its power instead of playing it in a later trick. For example, the Barbarian allows you to adjust the value of the die between plus and minus 3 to what it is, whatever you're playing right now. There is the Bard that allows you to reroll up to 2 times, and by the way, whenever you play a die, you can decide to reroll it instantly. So the Bard grants you up to 3 rerolls on a die if you are aiming for some specific number or for some specific criteria to satisfy with your roll die. And you might think that winning tricks is what you're trying to do in this game, but that's not really the truth, because to score points in this game you have to complete some missions. At the beginning of every round, each player is dealt some missions, and these missions are drafted, which means they go around to all the players, which pick them one at a time. And you're gonna have 3 missions in hand at the beginning of each round, and these missions can be harder to achieve, granting you more victory points, or easier to achieve, granting you less victory points. So it is up to you trying to make these missions work, and that's the main way in which you score points in this game. So most of them don't even have to do with winning a trick. Sometimes you don't even want to win tricks. Sometimes you want to lose all your tricks, or sometimes you want to lose a specific trick with a specific suit, or and so on and so forth. It is truly a game that shifts completely the idea of a trick-taking game, and that's why I really liked it, because it is not every day that a new trick-taking game with like a mind-blowing mechanic comes out, and this was definitely mind-blowing for me. Let me know if you know this game, and if you know any other games that just completely shift the idea of trick-taking and make it fun again. For you solo gamers out there, but also 2-player gamers out there, I have the perfect deck crafting, deck building sort of game, and that is Unstoppable. I am in love with this game, and everybody I played it with is in love with this game because it's great. This is a cooperative roguelite sort of game in which you are going to try and overcome one of the 3 bosses that come with the game. Each one of the 3 bosses comes with different ways to be overcome, so they always bring a new challenge, but in general, your objective in this game is trying to craft your deck as powerful as possible without getting the enemies very powerful. There's 2 incredible twists in this game. The first one is that every card in your deck is also an enemy. So what happens is that whenever you shuffle your deck and place it on your player board, they are going to be your enemies that you're going to be fighting every single round. Every single round you're going to have around 3 enemies that you're going to try to overcome, and whenever you kill those enemies, those cards are, you're gonna flip those cards, and they're gonna be the cards that go in your hand, because these cards are double-sided. On one side there's the enemy, on the other side your powerful cards that make your deck. And that's already mind-blowing, because in this deck you never draw cards. You never draw cards. The only way for you to draw cards is killing enemies. The moment you kill an enemy, you get a card into your hand. These cards are obviously gonna cost you some action points to spend, so another really important factor is the action management of the game, of the action cost of the cards. So you don't want 2 expensive cards every single time because you only have 3 action points. And at the beginning of every round you're gonna be drafting from one of the 6 decks. There's 6 decks of cards of level from 1 to 6. The more you level up in the game, the higher level cards you're gonna be getting, and the higher level the cards, the more powerful they get. How do you level up? By going through the deck. So the more you kill enemies, the more you draw cards, which are gonna help you kill more enemies, which are gonna help you go through your deck and level up. It's just mind-blowing the way it all works. It's just crazy. If you wanna see how this game plays, I have already 2 playthroughs of this game on my channel. You can find them at the link showing right now at the top right corner of the screen or in the description below. Check out those playthroughs and you are going to understand why this game is so mind-blowing. But I guess one of the main selling points of this game is that this game is about deck crafting, which means you are crafting your cards. You're gonna have a series of upgrades that you can add to your player cards by purchasing them with credits, which is basically the resource of the game. When you buy these upgrades, you basically slide these cards inside the sleeves, because each of the cards are double-sided, as I said, but they come into sleeves. So you're gonna slide these upgrades into the sleeves by making your player card more powerful. But there's a catch, because by making your player cards more powerful, you are also giving new abilities or making more powerful the enemy that is on the back of the same card. So there is this fine balance between being very careful about which upgrades you're buying, because you want to make sure that the enemies don't become too hard to overcome, because before getting that card into your hand to be played, you're gonna have to kill the enemy behind it, and if the enemy is too powerful, it's gonna kill you, and if you get killed, it's game over. This game is insane, and I'm very happy it will rise more and more in popularity, because there is a dungeon crawler card edition of it coming out probably next year. So this is the basic version, which is part of the solo hero series of Renegade Game Studios. Another game that is part of that series is Warp's Edge. I also have lots of playthroughs of Warp's Edge, because I love that, but that's solo only. This can also be played at 2 players. It just becomes a little bit slower and a little bit easier, in my opinion, because there's more control over the turns. At 1 player is definitely more unpredictable at solo. But this game, you need to try it. If you know a person that has this game, please go ahead and try it out, because it is insane. It is so new, so refreshing. It's incredible. Let me know if you knew Unstoppable, if you have it, if you've tried it, what you think about it, and if you have anything as unique as this in your collection. Before talking about our next game, allow me just one moment to point out that almost 90% of the watch time hours on this channel come from non-subscribers, and so it would be insanely helpful for me if after watching this video you would decide to subscribe to this channel and support me in that way. It's free, and I promise I will try to keep the content super high quality for you and give you great advice all throughout my YouTube career. It would be even more insane if you would decide to support the channel by joining the YouTube membership, or joining Patreon, or via Ko-fi, and all the information is in the description below if you want to do that. But I would be fine with just a subscription. I would be very happy even just with that. So thank you to everybody who decided to do so. For our next game, we have a very light and pocket one. It is called Robbery by Knizia. And I had so much fun playing this game, it's so stupid. Actually, it's pretty clever, to be fair. Basically, you have a hand of cards, and these cards range from 0 to 5. And there is, for each different round, a set of different tokens in the center of the table that all players are trying to grab from the center of the table. How you grab a token is by playing the card of the corresponding number. If all the tokens in the center of the number have been already taken, then you can take that token from one of the players that currently has it, you choose. And ultimately you are trying to get, obviously, the juiciest tokens, so the ones with the 5, the ones with the 4, because those are gonna become point at the end of the round. But at the same time, you need to beware, because you want alibis. The most powerful tokens, the 5s, the 4s, don't contain alibis, but the 0s, the 1s, have lots of alibis. And at the end of the game, after all the rounds, the player with the least amount of alibis on the tokens they have collected throughout the rounds is eliminated. Doesn't matter how many points you have, you get instantly eliminated if you don't have enough alibis. So there is a fine balance between stealing the juicy tokens and the timing which you steal the juicy tokens, and also ending the game with enough alibis to not be insta-killed, insta-eliminated. And there are also some other fun cards that spice up the game. For example, there's the guard dog. The guard dog blocks the next player who tries to steal from your loot from stealing, actively keeping your loot safe. Or for example, there is the boss. The boss is worth 5 victory points, but only if at the end of the raid, or which is the current round, you hold a 4 or 5 valued chip. The raid ends instantly, so each round ends instantly once all the chips in the center of the table have been taken. So that is also very important to decide the timing of when to trigger the end of the game, or trying to understand when somebody might want to trigger the end of the game. It's fun, it's easy to explain, it's portable, it's lovely. I had so much fun playing it, so I highly recommend Robbery. Next on the list we have a campaign style game, which is probably like one of my favorite ones I've ever played, and it is Tidal Blades 2 Rise of the Unfolders. If you like Gloomhaven style of combat games that feel very strategic, but also with a shorter campaign than Gloomhaven, so this is only 18 scenarios, much like Jaws of the Lion, then this is the game for you. You need to try this. It's also much cuter than Gloomhaven is. Gloomhaven is more rough, more mercenary, like kind of oriented. This is definitely more cuter and cartoony, and I really appreciate that. Another thing that I like about this game is that not all the scenarios are kill all enemies, but these actually have some objectives. So you're trying to achieve some objectives in each scenario that is not kill all enemies. There is going to be enemies, and most of the times you are going to be trying and killing enemies. There is boss fights every 3 scenarios, and each different boss, in that case you need to kill the boss. And the fun thing is that after the 3 scenarios you actually have a city phase in which you can upgrade and spend all the loot that you have collected in the previous scenarios, experience points, fame, fruit, to upgrade your character in many different ways, by purchasing more cards for your deck, or giving them more abilities or more use for their shield resources. There is so much that you can do with your upgrades and your experience points that you're going to be overwhelmed, but in a good way. But how does the game actually work? You basically have a hand of cards, and during your turn you are going to decide to play one of those cards, and that card will choose your initiative, much like in Gloomhaven, and then you go through the turns of each player in initiative order. But the fun thing is that when it comes your turn, you play this card in your Nexus. Your Nexus is a 3x3 grid of cards, and once you play that card in the Nexus, you are going to decide if you want to activate the column or the row in which you have placed that card. And that's the most fun part of the game, because whenever you are activating a row or a column, you are activating the whole row and the whole column, everything that is down there, all the cards and all the icons that are depicted in those rows and columns. That can create super huge turns that are super powerful, but there's a price to pay for that. Because whenever you activate, for example, a row that contains 3 cards already in it, then you will have to discard the whole row. So there is this kind of building up of big turns, and then you lose all the cards, so which means that your next turns are gonna be a little bit like less effective. So there's really a puzzle just as satisfying as Gloomhaven, but different. And I have never seen any other game do something like this after I played and enjoyed very much Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. We are kind of 1/3 of the way into the campaign, so I don't know everything that is going to happen, but I really enjoyed this game. If you like cooperative dungeon crawlers, this is something that you need to consider. You need to look into it, because it has such an innovative system with the Nexus grid, and I've seen no other game do anything like that. And it's so cute, it's so cute, it's so cute. There's so many cute characters in it. Even the monsters are so cute. They can be like a cute jellyfish, flying jellyfish, or like some of them were cute crabs. It's cute. I would say, just like all these games, is probably best played at 2 or 3 players. We are playing at 4 players, and the sessions become a little bit too long for my taste, but it's still very enjoyable. And there is also like branching paths. So there are some scenarios that if you choose one scenario, you don't go in the other one. So it can be narrative driven in a way, though in the end they all converge to the same path, I believe. But there's like a couple of scenarios where you have a branching path, but then they kind of converge to the main story. So there is some replayability into it, but I don't think the story is really what matters in this game. The combat, the puzzle is really what makes it amazing. For the next one, I have promised you a logical deduction game, and you know, I love logical deduction games, and I have tried a beautifully amazing logical deduction game, which is Kronologic. Specifically, I tried the Kronologic Cusco, but they are all amazing. There's basically 3 of the games. There is Kronologic Paris, which is the first one, the red one, which is like the easiest one. Kronologic Cusco, which is the green one, and then there is going to be Kronologic Babylon, the blue one, that is gonna come out later this year. If it's not already out, I don't exactly know. But as soon as somebody has that in store, I'm gonna go and buy it, because right now I don't own any of the Kronologic, but I played it from a friend and I loved it. And let me tell you why. Kronologic, as I said, is a logical deduction game in which you will have several different characters moving in and out of different locations at different times. And so what you're trying to do in the game is, by using some deduction rules, trying to understand which character is in each location at each point in time, at each of the 6 points in time. Each of the boxes come with several different chapters. The goals can be very varied. One example, very easy, I don't think it's even one of the goals of the possible chapters, but for example, the chapter might tell you, find the character that has never been in the same location twice in any of the 6 moments. So you basically have to find out the one character that has visited all the 6 locations without ever doubling back on one of the locations. And each chapter comes with their own rules. For example, generally all the characters always move, so they never stay in the same place from time 1 to time 2. They always move to a different adjacent location on the board. For example, one thing in Cusco is that some of the paths can be blocked in each of the chapters or each of the scenarios inside the chapter. So there is lots and lots of possibility and criteria that the game will ask you and will explain how it works for each winning criteria. And how it works is that during your turn, you are going to choose one location and ask about a specific character or a specific moment in time. And how it works is that you take the location card, and each of the scenarios comes with a different location card, and you're gonna slide it under the character punch board. There's gonna be 2 slots visible in each of the punch boards, and it's gonna give you different information. So if you slide the location under a character, it is going to tell you how many times that character has visited that location throughout the whole 6 moments, and sometimes it might even tell you exactly one of the moments in which that character has visited that location. So for example, it might tell you the Baroness has visited this location twice throughout the whole game, and one of the 2 times was at moment 6. In the same way, if you slide the location behind the time, it is going to tell you at that given time how many people were in that location, and it might even tell you specifically one of the characters that actually were in that location at that specific time. So if we're talking about the same location we were talking before and we're sliding it behind time number 6, we might be able to see that there were 2 people that were in that location at time number 6, and one of them was the Baroness. The fun twist in this is that sometimes, or most of the times, some of this information is public to all players. So the fact that at time 6 at that location there were 2 people is public to everybody, and you need to announce it to everybody. The fact that one of those people was the Baroness, it's private to you. So whenever you take your turn, you are going to get more information, but you need to make sure that that information you are trying to achieve is actually useful for you, because otherwise you risk helping the others by giving them more information that maybe they didn't have. So you really need to think about, first of all, what you're trying to achieve. Second of all, what you really need to know in order to answer the question that the chapter is asking you to answer. It's very fun because it's sort of a clue kind of game, but actually very, very smart. And with these punch boards, it's extremely fun. And the fact that each chapter comes with different rules and different difficulty levels and so on, it just makes it, I don't know, it was just a very refreshing kind of experience. But I love deduction games, what can I tell you? So I can't wait to have Kronologic Babylon, and can't wait to play that on the channel very soon. If you like logical deduction games, I also have a video specifically focused on my favorite logical deduction games that I made like a year ago or so. So you can find that in the description below, or in the link showing right now at the top right corner of the screen, as usual. Before talking about the last game, I want to remind you that if you like this video, I probably did because you're still watching, you can leave a like to this video and subscribe to my channel. But now it is time to talk about another Euro game. I promised you another Euro game at the end of the video, and it is time. The other game I really like this year, it is about undecipherable manuscript. and it is a game by Danny Garcia called the Voynich Puzzle. The Voynich Puzzle is this kind of manuscript that it's all written in an undecipherable language, in symbols, but you can totally understand that it talks about water, botanical topics, the stars, astrology, but nobody has ever been able to decipher it, and that's why it's a puzzle. The concept behind this game is that you are going to take actions during your turn by opening a booklet, and basically whenever you open the booklet you look at the two cards that are in this booklet and activate both of the cards. Now what you are trying to do during the game is upgrading these cards to get better actions, but most importantly, the more you upgrade the card, the more you're gonna get scoring multipliers for some criteria at the end of the game. So upgrading cards not only makes your actions more powerful, but also allows you to score more and more points at the end of the game. And how you upgrade these cards is by researching that topic. And how you do that is by actually completing the puzzle that is in one of the 6 areas of the main board. You're actually gonna slot puzzle pieces in that area and spending some research tokens that you have previously placed on that puzzle, depending on the criteria that is depicted on the card, to actually upgrade that card. So a card might say spend a research token on a cluster of 2 red puzzle pieces. So you need to make sure that you're creating a cluster of 2 red puzzle pieces on the main board, or somebody has created that before you, and you actually place one of your research tokens on that cluster so that you can spend it to upgrade your card. But here comes the fun part. Each of the pages of the booklet refers to one of the 5 mini games in the game, because this is sort of like a mini game kind of Euro game. The board is split in 6 different sections, and really there's like one which is gonna be this section where you have all the puzzle pieces, and all the other 5 areas that are going to pertain to different actions you can take. One of them will be like about botanical studies, and you're gonna be watering the plants or growing the roots. There is another one about the stars, so you're going to be observing the stars by using some of your tokens there and gaining some benefits. There's gonna be one about some very special recipes. There is one about water, waterology, hydrology, I don't know. There is one about writing text. So basically during your turn you're going to choose one of the 5 areas where you want to activate your actions, take the actions in that area and trigger different sort of effects. And another cool thing is that whenever you trigger an effect in some of the areas, you might also trigger some benefits for other players. On your next turn, you will not be able to choose the same area again, so you can't keep on milking the same actions over and over again, because as I said, some actions might become way more powerful the more we upgrade, so you kind of need to diversify. The game forces you to diversify, and that is also enforced by the fact that if you are very specialized in hydrology, and you're upgrading your hydrology cards very much, you're actually gonna unlock a scoring criteria for one of the other areas. So for example, if you're upgrading your hydrology cards, you might be scoring a lot of points for astrology. So that means that the game forces you to diversify, because you cannot just focus in one area, score a lot of points for that. You need to also do a lot of like actions in astrology in order to use the multiplier that you unlocked by upgrading the hydrology cards. So these sections are all connected in sort of a cycle. So the concept is really like divide and conquer, but not too much, because you don't have time to upgrade all the cards in all the areas. So really pick your favorite areas and try to maximize the multiplier for the scoring and whatever that multiplier is gonna score. It is so crunchy and so satisfying whenever you slot the pieces and upgrade the cards in the right way and do all the research on this obscure manuscript. Is like it's a crazy idea, and there is lots and lots and lots of symbols, and that's why lots of people don't like it. There's lots of scoring tracks. I understand that it is confusing, but if you just get through that obstacle of the many symbols and the many different scoring tracks that basically are all on the same track, is kind of a mess in that regard, but you will find the beauty of the game with all the sliding and moving different pieces of this beautiful puzzle of a game. But yeah, this was all for this video. I hope you understood something about what I said about any of these games. You enjoyed this video, you enjoyed this recommendation, you found something new to play. Most of these games were new, Unstoppable or the Voynich Puzzle, fairly new. Crits and Tricks, some of them were old, like Revive, or Tidal Blades. I think it's also like a kind of an older title, like 2 or 3 years ago. We're still talking about very recent games anyway, so I hope I gave you something to look into for your next researches for the next games that you want to play. I also just want to say that I have lots and lots of playthroughs on this channel. I really love doing playthroughs, so if you enjoy watching playthroughs, just find the playlist section on my channel. You're gonna find all the games that I've played, the campaigns, the standalone games, the two-player games, solo games, anything you want. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in the next one very, very soon. Ciao, ciao! Brief interruption because I just finished like recording this video that you see right now, and I saw that Iris challenged me, Iris from Crimson Board Games, you probably know her, challenged me to actually share my mid-year review in games, and I was already doing it. Imagine. So thank you so much, Iris, and what a coincidence. I think like we might be telepaths in a way, like what a coincidence, mind-blowing. Thank you, and see you soon again.